able to attend. So good afternoon. This is this month's Learning Hour webinar, all about our exciting Creative Pursuits program. And I am Sherry Mathis with the ALS Association. And before I introduce our speaker and have her get started today, I want to offer a few reminders. So you can add questions within the chat or the QA feature at any time during today's presentation. We will address as many questions as we can. We've always been able to get to them all within our time together. And this presentation, like I said, is being recorded and will be sent to everyone who registered today, whether you were able to participate or not. And then, as usual, when you leave at the webinar today, there's a very quick 4-question survey that we really appreciate. It will pop up. And your feedback really matters to us, and we definitely welcome your suggestions for any future topics that you might be interested in hearing more about. Okay. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today. This is Liz Stanley. She is our Arts Program Manager at the ALS Association. And Liz has been with the association for 1.5 years as our arts program manager. And during this time, she has designed and implemented this Creative Pursuits program that's focused on bringing various creative experiences to people that are living with ALS. Liz's prior experience of nearly 2 decades in art education around the world, working with all ages and all medias, has prepared her for this current role. She feels a deep commitment to running Creative Pursuits, having lost her dearest friend, who was an artist, to ALS. So welcome, Liz. Thank you for being here today, and I will let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And thank you all for joining me today to learn about Creative Pursuits and how we're enhancing the quality of life for those living with ALS. As Sherry mentioned, I'm Liz Stanley, and I'm happy to be here. So today, we're going to cover the following topics: an introduction to the Creative Pursuits program, program goals and feedback, program opportunities, low-tech and high-tech adaptive options, our 1-year anniversary celebration, some resources, and time for questions at the end. So Creative Pursuits would not exist without Ken Baltus and the Creative Pursuits Committee he organized to carry out his vision. Ken Baltus, as you can see on this screen, was an artist who lived with ALS in the Twin Cities in Minnesota and served on the local and national ALS Association boards. His goal was to bring a variety of creative opportunities to people living with ALS, so they may live fully even as the disease progresses. Ken wanted to improve the quality of life for people living with ALS and their caregivers. The program is now offered online throughout the United States, with some in-person tours in Twin Cities, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Madison, Wisconsin. To learn more about Ken and see more examples of his work, you can scan the QR code on this page. But here are some of his examples of his work. You can see the field here. This painting was created using his non-dominant hand after his ALS diagnosis. And this piece here was created using eye gaze technology. Ken recognized that the ALS Association was doing excellent work focused on the lower 3 tiers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But there was little offered, with the exception of maybe support groups and some other things, that actually addressed the top 2 levels of esteem and self-actualization, where we have the needs like creativity, problem solving, self-esteem, achievement, and the like. By reaching the higher levels of this pyramid, mental health and quality of life increase, And this is what Ken aimed to do with this program. So he used this as his basis. The goals Ken and the committee developed for the program link heavily to the top 2 levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Our goals are to allow self-expression, enhance self-confidence, ease anxiety, enhance social interactions and peer support, provide meaningful diversions from the challenges of living with ALS, and provide adaptive tools and techniques to accommodate a wide range of physical limitations. While we get feedback through surveys and word of mouth often that we are reaching all of these goals through this program, the goals you see in red are the ones that we hear about the most. Here are just some of the quotes from participants demonstrating the impact of this program. I'm not going to read all of these, but you can see by reading these quotes that this program has opened new doors for people to find joy, connect with others, find a sense of purpose, and create in new ways that they never had the opportunity to explore before. The image on this screen is from our Art for Healing classes. We offer this to caregivers, and we offer a digital version for people living with ALS. In this class, the teacher guides you through prompts to allow for free-flowing abstract expression. I like to share with you some of the science behind my choices and what we offer. The facts I'm going to list off to you come from a book called Your Brain on Art by Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross. So I'll just kind of list them off for you. Just 20 minutes of any art activity, including coloring and scribbling, is enough to lower cortisol, reduce stress, and leaves you feeling calmer and more content. 20 minutes in nature per day or 2 hours per week significantly lowers cortisol levels and boosts your immune system. Expressive writing can reduce blood pressure, lower stress hormone levels, lessen pain, improve immune function, and alleviate depression while heightening self-awareness, improving relationships, and increasing your ability to cope with challenges. Viewing art triggers a neurochemical exchange that leads to a release of emotion that leaves you feeling more connected to yourself and others, and is one of the most meditative practices. Sound vibration has the capacity to return the body to homeostasis and out of fight, flight, freeze reaction. These are just some of the facts in that book and that science now knows through all of the research done these days with exploring how creative opportunities impact the body and mind. So most of our classes are offered online, as I mentioned. And as you can see from this list, I've tried to cover a broad range of options, all of which are beneficial to the mind and body, as we just heard. So folks can find something, hopefully, that interests them, like poetry, fiction, and nonfiction writing, music, concerts, and creation, various visual arts creations classes, comedy classes where you basically just get together and laugh, online museum tours where we get to view art and talk about art, online audio guides for nature immersions, also called forest bathing, that you can do on your own, and social clubs focused on writing, visual arts, and books. The image on the screen is of a game that we played in one of the comedy classes called Laugh Tracks. This game is one where you're given an image and you have to come up with a funny story or a caption for what's going on. As you can see, we were cracking up. It was a great time. Okay, now I'm going to kind of dive into some of the assistive tools that we use in our classes that are available. These aren't all of the tools that we use. These aren't all of the tools that are available, but they're the ones that we used most of the time or that we found success with. So here are some of the grip tools and unique painting tools that we use and that I send out for the classes. We have built-up foam, as you can see here, that just kind of offers a bigger grasping surface. Easy hold grip tool, which is like a silicone tool, and allows you to slide in whatever tool you need, and then slide your hand in. These come in different sizes, where you could slide just a couple fingers in, or slide this all the way up to your palm or over your wrist, whatever works best for you. I really love these tools. This is one of my favorites. The universal tool is same idea as Easy Hold, but it's Velcro. So you can adjust it Velcro around your body. And then this Velcro grip allows you to kind of wrap around any tool that you can. So with this one, it's a little tricky. You have to make sure it's tight enough so that the tool doesn't slide, but it's really nice that it's so flexible. We have some brushes like this that are shaped kind of with a bulb grip, which allows, just for that wider grip surface. And it's kind of shorter, so you can wrap your hand around it. We use makeup sponges. I send out makeup sponges to use as painting tools. One of our teachers came up with this idea. It's brilliant. And these can expand. This type that I send out, when you get it wet, it grows. So it gives you a bigger area to grasp. Fingertip sponges, I always send these out for the visual arts classes as well. They can just slide on any finger. And, some people do this. They have all 5 of them on their hand at once, or you could just use one at a time. And basically feels like you're finger painting, but you don't have to get the paint on your fingers. And there's nothing to grasp. They hold on really well. Some other low technology options to aid in creating. We use this Dyson grip mat, which allows you to kind of cut whatever size you need. Use this underneath a pad of paper or your paint palette or a water cup or anything that you're using that you don't want to slide around so easily. This just grips it and so it doesn't move and shift. This mobile arm support. This one is nice. There's different versions of this. This one's nice because it clamps onto the table and then allows you to adjust the height and allows for pretty fluid movement of your arm and takes just some of the weight off of your arm. A bedside table is nice to be able to pull up to, a couch, a bed, a power wheelchair, whatever, and give you that kind of close table. Lap desk. This one is my favorite kind. There's a couple different ones that we use, but this one is nice because it's kind of an easel built in. And so you can adjust the height and the angle at which the surface is. So I think this is really wonderful because you could have your body at a different position and adjust this desk to work better. And then it also has a little ledge here that will hold the pad of paper or book or computer, whatever it is you're using. Okay, some of the stylus options that are out there, and there are so many. These are just a few. But there are some that you can wrap around your hand or your wrist, like this flexible one here, or this Velcro one over here. There's stylus that you could hold in your mouth, stylus that can be set on your head, and then different kinds of fingertip stylus that can allow you to not have to grasp anything. So these next few slides, I'm going to talk about some specific tools that I've used and created for this program. This one is a device that was inspired by a visit to Art Abilities in Rochester, Minnesota. They're an amazing organization that works with people who are disabled, and I learned so much about accessible tools and creation with them. And one of their artists uses this method. So I decided to build one myself. Really, the purpose is to provide a fun and simple way to create art for folks who are in a power wheelchair. And I'm going to play this video so you can kind of see it in action, just a quick little video. You can see the way that this device is used is you basically run into it with the power wheelchair. And you can tap it lightly, you can tap it aggressively, as you kind of just saw. And the idea is that the movement moves the marbles across the page. Here is an example of one of the pieces created by this artist. This device we have called the hummingbird because the person in these images using it said that she felt like a hummingbird when she used it. So we said, well, that's the new name for it. So this device I created with the help of a 3D designer, and it's based on a device used by the artist Anastasia Wilson of Headstrong Art that her father created to help her continue painting. So this is, again, another option for folks with limited arm mobility, but you still have that neck control and muscle strength. And what we do here is that we have this foam grip tool that is held by this 3D printed piece that adjusts to a head, like a helmet insert, basically, that can be adjusted to fit any head pretty comfortably. And in this foam tool, like you saw before, you can slide any type of tool. So we can have a marker, a pencil, a paintbrush, and whatnot. And I'm going to go ahead and play this. In the video here, you can see she is painting on a flat surface, which she said was fairly comfortable, but we found that when we elevated the surface, as you see here in the other picture with the easel, it just, took a little bit of that pressure off of her neck. It was more comfortable to use. Okay. Okay, so another option is this device called a foot gantry, which was created with William James and his team at University of Missouri. And I have to give a shout out to Sherry for hooking us up. Thank you so much for that connection. We have, he's been wonderful to work with. Obviously, he's created some brilliant things. So this is a device designed to support the weight of the leg and foot. And this amazing artist paints holding a paintbrush, and she also uses colored pencils or watercolor colored pencils held between her toes. And she creates amazing pieces like this. So I'm going to play this. Excuse the low resolution. I'm sorry about that, but at least the picture provides more crisp. You can see that it provides support and a nice fluid movement. Okay. Okay, so moving into some high technology options. Here we have some examples that allow folks to listen to books, read, write, create music and art more easily. So we have an iPad or any other tablet, smart home, Alexa, or Google, which allows you to say things like, read this book for me, and play music or whatnot. Tobii Dynavox is not the only eye gaze technology out there, but it is the one that we tend to use the most in our territory. And the TD Pilot is the Tobii Dynavox, but it's on an iPad. So it's basically an iPad with eye gaze device, whereas the Tobii Dynavox up here is a desktop computer with eye gaze device. So talk a little bit more about that soon. We have lots of different kinds of mounts. Tabletop and desk clamps that can hold tablet, Tobii device and whatnot. Tablet trays, floor mounts that are movable on wheels or some that are not. A wheelchair mount that would clamp on to just about any wheelchair. On the wheelchair mounts, there's wheelchair mounts that can work with a tablet, Tobii and phone, cell phone. We have different kinds of clamp-on mounts as well that could work on tabletops or wheelchairs or whatnot. And then just a tabletop tripod. I like the kind with like flexible legs that could potentially wrap around a pole or wheelchair arm or things like that as well. And the idea of having a remote control to use for your phone can also help you. So you can have the phone, let's say, set up on a different surface or somewhere else in the room, and you can still take a picture using the remote. Okay, so head mice, there's I'm sure more than just this out there, but again, these are the ones that I'm familiar with and that we use for the program, typically Glasshouse or QHA. So the Glasshouse tends to be the most popular because it works with Bluetooth. So it can work with a computer, a tablet, a phone, anything that is Bluetooth accessible. This can work with, and there is a variety of switches. I'm going to play a little bit of this video so you can see different head mounts. As you can see here, different kind of switches. I know that goes really fast, but basically the idea is that you can find different means to attach it to your head and then different kinds of switches to use that allow you to click. So the switch is for the clicking aspect, and the device here that attaches to your head is basically like the mouse. So you can move that around as needed. Down here at the bottom, you can see that QHA is very similar, but it plugs into a USB port instead of Bluetooth. Now, there are adaptions for plugging the USB into a little adaptive device that would plug it into your iPad. So there are ways to get this to work on a phone or an iPad, but it does have to plug in. It's not Bluetooth. Okay, so I'm going to take a little time to talk about phones and some of the things that you can change on a phone. Now, this is just a tiny taste of some of the accessible options for phones. But these are, just thinking about the majority of what we could use, or the most important in my eyes, are things like this. So having voice access on an Android phone, and I'm going to talk about iPhones on the next slide, but Android has this voice access option where you can pull up a grid, and the grid can be in various sizes. And you can basically use your voice to direct the phone to press, let's say, 62. If I tell it to press 62, then it's going to push down on and click on the shutter and take a picture. So that is kind of one option if you're using the camera. I think it's pretty easy to use the voice access with a camera. I don't know how well it would work just for like drawing. It may be a little bit more tricky, but it is a nice way to be able to access your phone if that's available to you. Other things that you can change are the touch and hold delay and the tap duration. So depending on how light or heavy your touch is, you can adjust this accordingly to kind of read your taps a little bit better. Some of the shooting methods on an Android and could be to control, the way that you take a picture in different ways. So like voice commands, you could say smile, cheese, capture, shoot. Those all work to tell the camera to take a picture. So let's say you have your camera mounted to a walker or a wheelchair using one of those mounts that we talked about before. And all you would have to do when you're ready to take the picture is say smile or cheese. I have to say, I actually use this a lot, especially in the winter here in Minnesota. I don't want to take my hands out when it's 30 below. So when we go on a hike, I'm going to turn this on, and my family always makes fun of me because I'm telling trees to cheese or smile, but it works. And you can also trigger it to record a video by saying those commands. You could use the volume keys by pressing the volume key. If that's just easier for you, or floating shutter button, you can move the shutter button on anywhere on the screen, so it is in an easy place for you to tap. Also, if you are taking a selfie, you can hold up your palm to take the image or start recording. Okay, so here are some of the great things I found on Apple. Again, those touch and hold duration options that we talked about before. Assistive touch, it wants you to toggle this on when you use other devices like Glasshouse and things like that to control the screen. And then customized top level menu. What it does is it creates a little circle, basically, on any screen, whether you're on a tablet, an iPad, or an iPhone. Every every screen that you're on would have this circle that is hovering that just really looks like a grayed out circle. I'm sorry, I don't have an example of that, but when you tap that, it pulls up this menu, and you can customize this to have even more icons, and you can decide what each of these spaces holds, and basically set this to have all the things that you want to easily access available without having to go through swipe motions and just using tabs. Okay, so using a Tobii, and I'm going to talk about both Tobii, like the desktop and Tobii the iPad. So you can mirror on the desktop, you can mirror your phone. So if you want to take pictures using just your phone, you can mirror your phone to be displayed. You could do this for text messages and whatnot. Anything on your phone you would have access to. But it's a nice feature for photography because then you can, again, attach your phone to, let's say, your wheelchair or walker or whatever. Well, I guess you would probably not be on a walker if you're using the Tobii, but you would then be able to kind of steer, and turn and orient yourself to arrange the composition and then take the picture all through using your Tobii device. I will say the camera that is built in on the Tobii is pretty basic. So most of the Tobii devices have a camera, but it is very basic. One thing you can do is go into the settings and go into the pro mode. So you go into the settings here and then click on the pro mode, and that allows you to control the aperture and manually focus. So it does give you a little bit more control. But other than that, you are using, some of the really basic functions of a camera. You can also turn on the rule of thirds, which is this grid here, which allows you to help compose your image, if you know anything about what rule of thirds is and all that. Another thing to keep in mind is that on either on a TD Pilot, the iPad version of Tobii, you can install different apps for a Nikon or a camera or a Canon camera. And those would allow you to connect basically any Nikon or Canon camera, whether it's a DSLR or a point and shoot, and control and take pictures through that app. On the Tobii desktop version, you can install the DSLR software and be able to, again, take pictures using your Tobii device, and have your camera set up, either attached to a wheelchair or somewhere across the room, and be able to document and take pictures. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, focus, you can control everything from there. Okay, so some of the computer programs and apps that are out there, these are the ones that I use. If you're using a Tobii desktop, you can use any kind of software. So you could work with, Photoshop or Illustrator or anything like that that's more complex if you want to. But I like these because they are free and really simple. So really, if you have no experience using art programs, I would recommend using either Sketch.io, also known as Sketchpad, and that it looks right here. And this is a web-based program, so you actually use it on any device that has the internet. So you could use it on your phone, you could use it on a tablet, you could use it on a desktop. And you can also download it for $5. So that is one option. Another option is Microsoft Paint or Paint 3D. I will tell you, Paint 3D has just this month stopped being updated. So they've decided that Paint 3D is out and Paint is in, and you can still download Paint 3D, but they're not going to update it. So you know how that goes with programs. Eventually it may crash, but you can still use it for now. But I'd say the Paint is probably better because a lot of the Paint 3D functions were really hard to use with eye gaze anyways. But either of these are going to work with head mouse, eye gaze, assistive stylus, things like that. Playground AI is a really fun program that is AI generated art. It's free. It allows you to have, pretty high quality AI created art. And I'd say our artists that work with this have had really high success. And being free, I think it's just the best option that's out there. I will say that it is ever evolving. It may change. If you don't log in for a week, it might look a little different. They might move buttons around, or they might add features or remove some features. They're still trying to work out the kinks, but that's why it's free. So take advantage of it. Okay, so this iHeart program is a desktop program that could work with a head mouse or eye gaze. It is designed to be used through eye gaze technology. So it is very user-friendly, and it's basically an instrument. In the free version, you have piano sounds. You can change the octaves, you can change the keys, you can change how many notes are available here. You can change the size and orientation. It is just really user-friendly. With the paid version, where you pay $15 a month, you get access to many different instruments and access to tutorials, like kind of guided lessons on how to play songs. So you can learn how to play songs, or you can just get on, use the free version with the piano and just kind of tinker around and play on here. You could use it on a desktop, using a mouse as well. Works fine, but it is designed for eye gaze. The Dragon software is something that some folks use to dictate. So it is a speech to text program. And so folks will write using this program. You can write emails, you can write notes, you can write a book. And it's pretty successful at interpreting grammar and punctuation, things like that. So I recommend that one. Okay, some of the apps that are out there, and I will say none of these are free. These we do have to pay for. But the one up here that I like a lot is Procreate. It's just really user-friendly, lots of options, but it's not overwhelming. You have layers, so you can have as you can see here, the ostrich is on a different layer than the grass and things like that. So if you want to move things, if you want to change the size, if you want to delete portions of something, it's easier to have it on separate layers, especially if you're using a head mouse or eye gaze. And then ArtRage is just a very similar program that's a little bit cheaper and maybe offers just slightly less as far as different paintbrushes and things like that, but still has a lot to offer. Ekway is a music program. I will say Ekway is only meant for mobile devices. You could put it on a TD Pilot tablet version, but it is oriented in portrait or vertical format, whereas the TD Pilot is a horizontal orientation. So it becomes a little tricky to use, but it is great on just a tablet or a phone using a stylus, or things like Glasshouse that would allow you to control it. But just a fun way to learn about music and play around. Okay. So that was a lot. So now I just want to share this with you that we celebrated our 1-year anniversary recently with an in-person exhibition in the Twin Cities here. I wanted to be able to share the celebration with folks in other areas as well. So I created this online gallery, which includes everything we displayed in person. You can see a wide range of visual arts media and methods, as well as written pieces and music, and even some of Ken Baltus's work. If you'd like to see more examples of what we do in this program, and what some of our brilliant participants have created. Scan this QR code to check it out. Okay, so here is a lot of resources and some of the references of what we talked about today. I have the link to the Creative Pursuits program, links to some durable medical equipment, adaptive equipment, and communication and assistive device equipment lists that are available. You'll see even more options in these lists if you didn't like what you saw today, but you'll also see what you saw today in these lists. I do want to point out Makers Making Change. This is an interesting resource where it's basically a bunch of 3D printers that are kind of sign up for this. And there's a whole catalog of different tools that have been created before or that have been designed by one of these makers. And you can go through the catalog and find something that you want and select a maker to create it for you. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to learn more or check out the current Creative Pursuits offerings, scan the QR code here. It will take you to our website where you can click on the catalog and see what's available. I can also put the catalog link in the chat so you can see what classes are on offer right now. Just so you know, we are wrapping up our fall term, which will end, the third week in December, and we will start our winter term in January. So we will start advertising that catalog in December. So the first week in December, it'll be in the newsletter in December if you get that, or you can just actually go to this same link and it will be there. But yeah, feel free to email me or call me, text me at the number and email address here. I am available if you have any questions about the program or any of these tools or anything that I talked about today.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Liz. So much great information. And boy, when you went through the benefits, I thought, gosh, I better be doing more art kinds of activities myself. So
For sure.
I do have a couple questions, and I just want to remind everybody, go ahead and use either the Q&A or the chat if you have any questions for Liz or just any comments. And again, a reminder that by the end of this week, I will send out this recording along with the email will include links to all these resources and things that Liz has been sharing with you. So don't worry if you missed them as you went through this today. Okay, so one question I have, Liz, is what one participant asked, what do you need to have a book read to you?
Yeah. So you can have a Kindle app. And I'm not sure if it would work with a different kind of app, but I know the Kindle app can dictate and read to you. And then if you have your, smart home set up, so if you have your Google Home or Alexa or whatever set up as well, then you can trigger that to play with a command. So you could actually just use a Kindle app on a phone or a tablet. And then there is a way to trigger that to read aloud to you. But yeah, the smart home is the easier way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And then another question that came through is, do you have an evaluation, like a virtual evaluation with each artist so they know what adaptive equipment they need and then to participate in the activity? And then do you send them that? Is there anything else they would have to go purchase potentially?
That is a really good question. And you got me thinking. So what I do is when you register, I ask you what kind of tools you use. And so if you say you use grip tools, then I'm going to make sure that I send you a variety of grip tools. If you provide me any information in that, I have a question in the registration that asks, please provide any more information about the types of tools and things that you may need, or whatever. And so I get a lot of information through just those questions. And then what I do is I'll reach out to you if I am not quite sure how I can support you, or if I'm thinking, oh, maybe an armrest would benefit you, or a lap tray or whatnot. And then what we do is we just kind of keep in communication. So if what I've sent you isn't working, let me know. And, I want to know what's working and what's not working, and how I can then, pivot and help you more. And then, yeah, so I mentioned that, especially with the visual arts classes where we really need those types of tools. Yeah, it's a lot. That's the process so far, but I love the idea of making this a more concrete evaluation in some way. So thanks for the
Wonderful.
question.
So call you if they have questions, it sounds like, and if there's something they're interested in doing.
Basically, yes, yes.
Okay. And I've got a couple of people that have hands up, so I'm guessing it might be easier for you to talk. So Karen, I'm going to ask you to unmute and see if you can tell Liz your question. Don't know if that's coming through. Karen, I still see your mic is off. Are you able to change that?
I wonder if you may have to manually. Oh.
Oh, sorry, that was an accident. Okay. Thank you, Karen. And then Nikki, I see your hand up too, so we'll try that with you. I think I have to, I have the list up, and so I ask you to unmute is how that works. So if anybody else needs to just ask a question and aren't able to put it in the chat, raise your hand and I'll try to find it. So, and Nikki, looks like you took your hand down. So let's try, got another Karen up. So we'll try that one.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go.
Great. Yeah, I was looking, I'm like, I don't have a microphone, but yeah, what you just did worked. My question is, so I saw ones where you could create music. I was a piano player before and obviously can't do any of that now. Is there an eye gaze program that would work good if I already know how to play? Like, I don't know if there's anything that could replicate.
Yeah, I would say that iHarp is a really good option for you, especially if you want the piano sound, because it's free for the
Perfect.
piano sound. I mean, the way that it's set up, and you'll know more about this than I am. My background is visual arts, so I have a smattering of music understanding, but you have a lot of adjustments that you can make, where you can start in different keys, you can start at different octaves, and have different control over what types of notes are provided on the screen for you to play with. So I think that would be a really fun one for you to explore.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Any more questions or comments from anybody?
I actually, oh, I'm sorry. I
No, go
actually have
ahead.
something to share, and I don't know if it would be helpful. I saw the earlier question about having a book read to you. I am an avid reader, and it's been really hard not being able to hold books. But on both my iPhone and my iPad, it has very good voice controls. So I can actually, read from that and then use my voice to turn the pages.
Oh,
That's a
Nice.
great trick too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, I mean, that's kind of an in-between. I know eventually probably I'll have to go to more audiobooks, but I like the option that I can still actually read, but I, use my voice to turn pages.
Yeah, fantastic. And you
Wonderful.
can then use a mount and have that holding the tablet for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do in bed.
Oh, great.
Mhm.
Thanks for
Wonderful.
sharing that, Karen.
So,
I did put the link to the catalog in the chat for anyone who wants to access that right away.
and again, that'll also be in the email for you guys. So, so it looks like I think I've gotten all the questions. And I'm really excited about this program that Liz has developed and that the association has now made available to everyone in the country that's living with ALS. And I hope you guys will take a look at some of the things that she talked about and look into some of the classes that you can participate in. That's a good way, like she said, that I think a lot of the feedback is coming in on some of the social interactions that people can have through these. And then, also there's so many ways to pursue this even in your alone time. So let's see, I'm sorry, I think I got one more raised hand. Let me try to get to that for Christine. Here we go. Oh, wait, got the wrong one. Where'd you go? Okay.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Christine.
I just wanted to say that that's a student of the Great Divide program. It's also a very safe and comfortable environment. Everybody is very patient.
Thank you, Chris, for saying that. Chris is a student of the Creative Pursuits program. Chris has taken many classes with us, is a wonderful participant. And thank you for stating that it's a safe and warm environment. I have worked hard to make sure that all of the teachers provide that type of environment. And yeah, thank you, Chris. It is very safe and welcoming and yeah, just fun, supportive environment. And I will say another thing that we do to add to that social component and that like kind of working outside of the classes, we have an online forum where we can post, work that has been done in between classes and carry on the conversation, get feedback from each other. And yeah, so that has been a really nice aspect as well that has helped create that community.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Christine, for sharing that comment and letting others know how welcoming it can be to be part of this community. So I think that is it. And again, I really want to thank Liz for developing this program and then for being here today to share it with us and all the work she does for people to have access to this kind of fun times. So I really appreciate your time today, Chris, and look forward to this program continuing to grow. And then just a reminder for you guys again that this presentation is recorded, so you will get it to review again. And the link will be included in the follow-up email, where I will also list out a lot of the resources that she put in here and things that you can look for and follow up with and connect with Liz, and just get a chance to explore some of these things. So, and then lastly, if you'll take a minute to respond to the survey when it pops up at the end of this seminar here, and let us know how we did today and what other things you'd like to see us talk about in these programs in the future. So thank you, Liz, and thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you all so much.